I've never planned to become a climate activist, but somehow I ended up standing here today talking about climate activism. Looking back, I don't really even remember when I first heard about the climate crisis. It was probably in a Blue Planet documentary or packed into a few 45-minute geography lessons, and afterwards we continued with business as usual. From today's perspective, it might seem odd how little attention we pay to this crisis, which affects each and every one of us. Until last August, a 15-year-old Swedish girl, you already heard from her and know her by the name Greta Thunberg, started school striking. That winter, her famous speech at the climate conference in Katowice went viral all over my Facebook and Twitter feed. She addressed world leaders and urged them to stick to the Paris Agreement. And suddenly, young people all over the world felt inspired and empowered to do their own climate actions and to start school striking. I striked for the first time in January 2019. We were maybe a dozen people standing in front of the town hall at the Prinzipalmarkt here in Münster. It was raining, it was freezing cold. You can all imagine how that is in Münster, that disgusting winter. There were no signs, there was no music. It was quite horrible, in fact, and it felt a bit like one of those events you do with your school or your local sports club, and you maybe get a few lines in the local newspaper, and that's it. But for us, it wasn't. We weren't finished striking after that Friday or another. For the next strike, we planned a bit bigger, and we thought, okay, maybe we can reach that 100 people join our strike. 1,000 came. And suddenly, I knew that we weren't alone. The systematic failure of our governments and politicians to safeguard the future of their people wasn't about to get through unrecognized. The people were rising and calling these politicians to act. In a more perfect world, my talk could end here. I would say something about politicians listening to the science, good politics, and better people. But the world isn't that perfect, and politicians don't always stick to the agreement they've made. But as well, this won't be a feel-good talk in which I tell you to go vegan or to fly less, even though that might sound reasonable, and afterwards we'd all feel better when drinking our next oat milk cappuccino or taking the night train to Italy instead of that plane. But it isn't as simple and as convenient as that. Well, it is not 100% true. Some things are quite simple when it comes to the climate crisis. To limit global warming to below 1.5 degrees, we can only emit another 347 gigatons of CO2. We either stop our emissions of greenhouse gases soon enough, or we don't. We either prevent setting off global irreversible chain reactions, destroying ecosystems all over the planet, or we don't. We either stop this crisis from turning into a global social catastrophe, or we don't. I know, this sounds all very drastic and unfair. It is too much to bear, too much responsibility, it is all too soon, and obviously no one can save the planet alone. But indeed, the climate crisis is drastic and unfair, and we're already in the middle of it. Lands are getting flooded, species are going extinct, and people are dying. So, time is running. This is why I call on each and every one of you in this talk. The crisis we're in is so drastic, so urgent, and so unfair that we need each and every one who's sitting here and all over Münster and everybody you know in this fight. And yes, it will be a fight, an inconvenient fight. It has to be because our systems have failed us, and they keep failing us. Our politicians keep thinking about the next election, but what comes after those 4 or maybe 5 years of time doesn't really matter to them. The fossil fuel industry goes on wrecking this planet, maximizing the profit of a few, and that's it. Every day, 2,703,000 tons of coals are burned in power plants all over this planet. Every day, we clear 80,550 hectares of woodland. Every day, 120 species go extinct. There are no rules, laws, or choices to keep that coal from being burned or to keep those animals and trees alive. This is why we all need to be inconvenient. When it comes to the climate crisis, everything is political, and we all have to be or become political. Our systems keep failing us, and we will not stop this crisis by simply relying on them. We will not stop this crisis by eating less meat and more locally grown vegetables instead, even though some green campaigns might tell us so. We need to decarbonize the worldwide economy within 3 decades. We need to stop prioritizing eternal economic growth above everything else, since we know that it is rather impossible to have a growing economy while emissions are sinking. Yes, these changes are drastic, and they will not come easily. Old white politicians and fossil fuel lobbyists and other people in power will do everything they can to prevent these changes from happening. And they are quite reluctant to change, as we know from female rights, social rights, rights of people of color, etc. And they practice preventing change the past centuries, so they're quite good at it. But we, as merely ordinary people, have one significant advantage above those people in power. We are many, many more than they are. And history proves that lots of people can bring lots of change. And this is why I call on each and every one of you in this talk to also become a climate activist. I know, this might sound overwhelming to you, but it doesn't have to be. To be a climate activist, you do not have to block coal mines or organize mass protests. Since the climate crisis affects each and every one of us in basically every aspect of our lives, we also need climate activists everywhere. If you work in a company, check out when that company plans on becoming climate neutral. If you are a teacher, teach about the climate crisis. If you are a journalist, write about the climate crisis. I know, you might think you're not living a green enough lifestyle to become a climate activist. You might think you have to abandon your car or go zero waste, that you've flown too often or eaten too much meat. And sure, all these things are good things to do, but they will not save the planet. Those people in power I told about might tell you so, but it's not true. They say so because they want to stop the people from rising. They say so because they do everything they can to prevent change from happening. But change is coming, and you can and you should be a part of it. Join a strike, start a petition, plant a tree, talk to your politicians, talk about the climate crisis, write about the climate crisis, organize a lecture, or rebel on the streets. Yes, this won't be an easy fight, and it will take huge, huge, huge efforts to bring change to the system which lives off systematically exploiting the planet, natural resources, and even the people on that planet. But it's possible. And because of those huge efforts, and because it will be that fight, and I know I keep repeating myself here, it will be a fight, I also urge each and every one of you to not fight alone. Find allies, start a gang, come together with people who will not let the system destroy the planet and the future of the people on it. It will be a long fight, so we better make it somewhat enjoyable with the people we like and care about. And not being alone also has one another significant advantage. One person, as inconvenient as they can be, easily gets ignored by those people in power who only want to benefit from exploiting them. But together, we are so many more than those people in power. Together, we can't be ignored. So change is possible. Change is coming. Everything has to change, and it will change. You can't ignore a movement. So, see you on the streets.